What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We do have Bitcoin currently up over 1%. The markets are doing very well today. Stock market up almost 1%. Bitcoin up over 1%. Ethereum up over 3%. Altcoins total 3, lagging behind but still up. We do see quite a bit of these smaller altcoins making moves though. Now, we are going to be talking about Stellar Lumens later in this video and this breakouts, some price targets to be looking out for. Of course, we're also going to be talking about other altcoin setups that have yet to move, including SEI, Polkadot. See what is going on in these markets. Of course, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin first because Bitcoin is still the driver of the markets. If Bitcoin dumps, none of these altcoin setups will matter in the long term, at least in the longer term. Okay, if Bitcoin starts dumping, none of these altcoins will look really good to me. Now let's take a look into Bitcoin. And before we do, I just want to let you guys know that if you guys are new to this channel, you guys should know that I dive deep into the charts every day, so we can actually find the moves before they happen, using charts, using technical analysis. And if you guys do want to learn technical analysis and charts so you guys can actually see the markets a lot more clearly for yourselves independently, you guys should subscribe, like, and of course comment on this video if you guys have any questions or comments. Now let's go ahead and dive right into it. First things first, we gotta look into Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin doing right now? Hourly time frame. Since we had that dip yesterday, okay, down to about just right under 101k, it has been bouncing back. Okay, we are still getting notably higher lows on this price action chart, which tells me that buyers are coming in at higher price levels. And if higher lows are held, then we can expect higher highs. That is just the technical definition of an uptrend. Let's take a look into the daily time frame for Bitcoin, see what is going on in here. We gotta zoom out a little bit, okay? So, daily time frame, daily 21 SMA is catching up, okay? It's currently at about 97.5. The blue line here, we're still very well above the daily 200 SMA, and that is very significant, okay? Now, why am I tracking the daily 21 SMA? Because that is a moving average we have not come down to as support yet. So if the price action was to break down, that is the next level of support I'll be looking at. We would usually get a bounce at this moving average and see what happens at that bounce and reevaluate the charts then. Okay, but chances are, if the price action was to break down, we are going to get a bounce from the daily 21 SMA, and that is catching up to the price action. It's coming up on a daily basis. That's why it's a moving average. Let's take a look into the 3-day time frame here. 3-day time frame here. We have a higher low still as of the last 3-day candle close, right? We had, higher lows. You count the red candles, so that is still looking good in terms of seeing an uptrend here. Of course, we are very much focused on the previous all-time high at about 110k, because that is the next level of resistance. We do see quite a bit of candles here getting rejected at the first wave around this area, okay? Now, if the price action comes up to about 110k, then we could look at these charts again and see if we can see a more developed pattern here. My guess is it could potentially work itself into a cup and handle pattern if it doesn't just, break out very sporadically. I mean, that could happen. I've seen Bitcoin do that. I've seen it quite a few times in the last few big breakouts. Okay. Now, of course, if Bitcoin pumps, that is going to pump the rest of the markets as well. So you guys should be rooting for Bitcoin if you guys are bulls. Let's take a look into Ethereum. Been talking about Ethereum. We're just going to take a look into Ethereum just really quickly because, clearly the other altcoins are a lot more interesting than Ethereum. But, I still have some Ethereum. I still trade Ethereum. Especially in times of when Bitcoin is consolidating, like 2024, right? That is, one of the scenarios where I would trade Ethereum because I trade leverage as well. And what I'm seeing here is, we have talked about this pattern, very, very familiar pattern, especially after a extensive downtrend, falling wedge, daily time frame, measure target 2900 for Ethereum. It's basically getting there, okay? Price targets are estimates only. It could get above or it doesn't have to get there at all. Let's take a look into Total 3. Also very familiar pattern, okay? Very similar charts because the altcoins, at least in terms of averages, they're going to follow each other and they're going to follow Bitcoin. Total 3 here, falling wedge pattern, price target about 1.1 trillion. That could still do some pretty amazing pumps for the altcoins if and when Total 3 gets to 1.1 trillion. We're going to be taking a look into the lower time frames, chart the patterns, and see what the potentials are for the next move. Let's take a look into Stellar Lumens, see what has been going on in this market. We have talked about Stellar Lumens. You guys can look it up in my recent videos. And, we're going to see a very similar pattern. A falling wedge pattern on this daily time frame. Price target out of this pattern. It looks like it just broke out a couple days ago. And we still got a lot of price target left. It's going to be about 59 cents. Stellar Lumens. And currently has broken out, went as far as about 33 cents. It is at the daily 200 SMA as resistance. Okay. 4-hour time frame. We also talked about this. Basically broke out to the T here. Okay. 4-hour time frame. I think we talked about this last time. Falling wedge pattern. Okay, this one it actually it broke out. It looks like it has already hit this price target for the smaller falling wedge pattern. So you guys should definitely pay attention to falling wedges, especially if you guys are bulls, because if you're a bear as well, because you definitely want to put a stop loss, right? Let's just say right here, falling wedge, very easy to chart. I think it's probably one of the easiest to spot, right? Patterns to spot. You connect at least three candles for a valid trend line on the top. Find 3 valid candles for a trend line for the bottom, and you have a falling wedge, okay? If it's shaped like this, of course. It could come in all variations. There could be a wider falling wedge. It could be a narrower, but just Google it, ChatGPT it, get a better definition, a more detailed definition. Of course, for time's sake, we're not gonna talk about all variations of a falling wedge here. Let's go to what could be happening here on this XLM USDT here. Shorter time frame. Very similar theme, okay? Very similar theme. And again, we have another familiar friend. Usually breaks to the upside. price target on this hourly. Small falling wedge here. Gonna give you a price target right back up to the resistance it just hit at about 33 cents. Alright, so this is basically what I'm seeing for Stellar Lumens. Some short-term price targets. We're gonna be revisiting these charts when those price targets are hit, or if you guys give me enough likes on this video and let me know if you guys want to see more Stellar Lumens. And if you guys have any technical analysis requests on any altcoins, make sure to drop a comment, like, and subscribe, and I will pick a technical analysis request every day and do it live here for you guys. Alright, let's go ahead and go to SEI. I also want to bring up another point here. I think I forgot earlier is the stock market. Okay, it's very important we also pay attention to the stock market because it has a very high correlation with Bitcoin, and it usually could be a front-running signal for Bitcoin, especially when there's a pump or a move, right, in either direction. But what I am looking at right now for the stock market, let me just come back here real quick because this is important. Daily time frame. Daily time frame. The stock market. This is S&P 500 mini futures. ES1 exclamation mark has just crossed. Got a very solid candle close above the daily 200 SMA. You guys can research what the significance of getting price action above the daily 200 SMA is, but it is important. Now let's resume altcoin setups. SEI. Okay. What is going on in here? Let's take a look into the monthly time frame. I don't think I actually did an analysis for you guys for SEI. Let's take a look into the monthly time frame. I am looking for any overbought signals on the monthly time frame because that would put the price action at high risk of a dump from being overbought, and it could take a while, for it to actually come back and break even. If you guys don't believe me, just take a look into monthly RSI readings for altcoins that had a monthly RSI reading from back in 2020, 2021. Tell me, how long does each altcoin stay in overbought territory with it when they have a monthly RSI reading in overbought territory? All right, so let's come over here to SEI. We are not in overbought, so that means we're not near a potential peak, right? It doesn't mean that it cannot dump, right? I mean, there's still a chance. There's still a chance that it could still go further down. But it's just less of a potential that it's close to a peak. Okay, less of a chance that's close to potential peak, right? And that's at higher risk. Weekly time frame. Very, very familiar charts. Okay, with the rest of the markets, we got you guys can say it, right? Now we have 3 candles. I mean, you don't have to be super exact with the candle touches, right? They could be very close, like the top one here. 1, 2, and the third one is pretty close to the top trend line. In my books, that is still a valid trend line. Price target out of this pattern with this estimated breakout point is going to give you about $1.35 SEI. That is still a pretty big price target, right? Now, let's just say if it doesn't break out by this point, then just move it down along this trend line or up along this trend line. Let's take a look into 3-day time frame, see what we are dealing with here. Now, from within patterns, you can also chart within the patterns, so you can actually get an idea of what could be doing from within the pattern as well. In this case, On the 3-day time frame, maybe on a daily time frame, I can validate those candle touches. 12-hour. There you go. On the 12-hour, falling wedge from within a falling wedge pattern, you can still, you should still do that, of course. But that is just me, right? And none of what I'm saying here in this video is financial advice, of course. It's just for you to consider, to make sense of, so you can actually just look at this market better. Okay, 12-hour time frame, falling wedge within a falling wedge, price target out of the smaller one. And that's how you can get a sense of where the price action could be doing. Don't just, chart once, chart a bigger pattern and completely forget from, what's going on within the pattern, because you can always get insights at a smaller time frame to give you more clues on where the price action could be going. Because these patterns usually break to the upside, but there is still a chance that they don't break to the upside. And of course, sometimes they could break out and it could, just come right back down into the pattern. That is called a fake out. Definitely look out for those scenarios as well and risk manage accordingly. Now, price target out of this pattern here is the smaller one is gonna be about 59 cents, which would take you very close to the top trend line of this bigger pattern. Let's see if we can find another pattern here from within this smaller, where the price action is at right now. Okay, that is a double bottom. Okay, even though the second bottom here is slightly lower than this bottom, the first bottom, this is still a double bottom. How do you find a price target for a double bottom? You take the measurements of the pattern from the top to the bottom, put it on top of the top. Measure target for this double bottom, it's about 28 cents, just right underneath 28 cents. And what I like about this double bottom pattern here is that you actually have bullish divergence on the RSI, which usually tells you that it's going to be a reversal, which we are seeing right now. Okay, just a little late to the party, but this is on the hourly time frame, right? Well, actually, not too late, because it hasn't even. It's barely touching that neckline right now, right? All right, let's take a look into Polkadot, see what's going on in this market. We did a analysis on this coin just not too long ago, and we've talked about this on the monthly time frame. Okay, we had also a double bottom inside a falling wedge pattern. Keep charting from within the pattern just to give you more idea of what could be going on. And in this case, it tells me that there is a bullish pattern within a bullish pattern that usually breaks to the upside. Okay, so from within that double bottom as well, you can also see a falling wedge pattern. Price target for this one would be about $10 for dots. Okay, that would take you close to the top trend line of this bigger falling wedge pattern. And if it actually breaks out of this pattern here, this bigger one, the price target is going to be about almost $20. Okay, that is still dots. We talked about this pattern here. This wraps up this video. I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.